I wasn't even on duty, just passing by. But I heard it, clear as day. Leave the fat girl behind. That's what someone said, out loud, while a girl was trapped in a burning car. My name's Carl Benson. I'm 68 years old, retired firefighter, 32 years in service. Born and raised in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Still live here, actually. Never saw a reason to leave. Folks say it's cold and gray and worn out, but it's home. Always was. You know how some places just settle into your bones? That's Scranton for me. I retired a little over 10 years ago now. Thought it'd be easier stepping away from the job. But truth is, some days I still reach for my boots before I remember nobody's calling. Old habits. They die hard. I didn't grow up dreaming of being a hero or anything like that. My dad was a steel worker. Came home every night black with soot. My mom, God rest her soul, cleaned houses. We didn't have much, but we had enough, and we were raised right. Respect, work hard, help your neighbor. Those things meant something back then, still mean something to me now. I fell into firefighting kind of by accident. I was 21, out of work, and my buddy Mike dragged me to take the entrance exam with him. He didn't make it, I did. Just like that, I was wearing a uniform. And it stuck. Not because of the adrenaline or the danger, though there was plenty of both, but because of the people, the stories, the small things you saw, the quiet moments when someone needed you and you were the only one who showed up. You see, people think being a firefighter is all about fires, sirens, big dramatic rescues, but that's not it. That's just TV. Real life? It's messy. It's waiting in the cold for an ambulance to arrive. It's crawling under crushed metal to hold someone's hand while they cry. It's finding someone's dog under the porch after a flood. It's showing up on someone's worst day and trying to make it a little less awful. I've seen a lot of bad days, lost a few friends, held folks in my arms while they slipped away. It changes you, not all at once, not like a movie. It creeps in, settles deep. You carry it. Some things you never talk about. Not because you're trying to be tough, but because there just ain't words big enough. When I retired, folks kept asking me what the worst call I ever went on was, like they wanted a horror story or something. But the ones that stay with you, they're not always the blood and fire. Sometimes it's a look, a voice, a choice someone made when nobody was watching. That day on the interstate, that wasn't even my call. I wasn't on duty. I wasn't in uniform. I was just a man in a pickup truck, trying to get home before the ice got worse. But something happened that day. Something I still think about more than I should. It wasn't the wreck. I've seen hundreds of those. It wasn't even the storm. It was bad, sure, but we've had worse. It was a sentence. Just one sentence. Leave the fat girl behind. I heard it like someone had shouted it right into my ear. And in that moment, something in me snapped. All my years on the job, all the people I'd carried, all the faces I'd looked into. None of it hit me quite like that sentence did, because it wasn't just cruel. It was casual. It was tossed out like trash, like she didn't matter. And maybe that's what got to me most. Because if there's one thing this job taught me, it's that everyone matters, even the ones folks try to forget. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I was, and maybe that's the point. It was winter. February, if I remember right. Cold as hell. Around here, winter's not just cold. It's long. It crawls under your skin and stays there. Scranton's a working-class town. Folks are used to scraping ice off windshields and shoveling their driveways before work. But that week, it was rough. Storm after storm, freezing rain, sleet, black ice. The kind of weather that makes you think twice before going outside. I was retired already, like I said. Didn't have to be anywhere. But I still had my routines. I'd wake up early, never could sleep past 6, and go out for coffee. Same diner I always went to. Frank's on Main Street. Been going there since '89. Waitress named Linda always called me Sugar and brought my cup before I sat down. You don't get that in chain places. I'd sit there, drink my coffee, read the paper even though it got thinner every year, and just watch people. That's something retirement gave me. Time to slow down. Time to notice the little things. That morning, weather was already turning. You could smell it in the air. Damp, heavy, like the sky was getting ready to fall. I remember Linda saying, "Better get home before it ices up." And I nodded, but I didn't rush. I never rushed. After breakfast, I stopped by the hardware store. Needed some salt for the driveway. Talked with Jim behind the counter about the game the night before. Eagles had blown another lead. Nothing new. By the time I got back in my truck, the roads were already getting slick. That wet shine on the asphalt, you know? Looks pretty, but it'll send you spinning in a heartbeat. Now I should have gone straight home. I knew better. But I took the long way. Up along the ridge, through the back end of town, just like the quiet. No stoplights, no traffic, just hills, trees, and the kind of silence you only get in winter. I was halfway down the ridge, merging back onto I-81, when I saw the line of brake lights. Cars at a standstill. Some pulled off onto the shoulder. Something had happened. You get a sixth sense for it after a while. You can feel it in the air, like tension wrapped in fog. I slowed down, crept along with the rest. At first I thought it was just a spin-out. Some poor soul who hit ice and ended up in a ditch. Happens all the time. But as I rounded the bend, I saw it. A yellow school bus, tilted, one side up against the guardrail. Windows fogged up, doors wide open, people everywhere. Some were kids, some adults, a few in reflective vests, civilians mostly, nobody official, just folks who'd stopped trying to help. It wasn't chaos exactly, but it was close. The kind of scene where everyone's looking at everyone else waiting for someone to take charge. And that's when I heard it. I wasn't even out of the truck yet. I had the window cracked, and through the wind and voices, one sentence cut through. "Leave the fat girl behind, we need to get out." It wasn't shouted, just said like it made sense. Like it was a decision, not a betrayal. I froze. My hand was on the door handle, and I just sat there for a second. Now I've been to fires where people were screaming. I've seen things I'll never unsee, but nothing ever hit me like those 7 words. Because it wasn't just what was said, it was how it was said. No anger, no panic. Just like she wasn't worth the trouble. I opened the door, got out. My boots crunched on the icy shoulder. Wind whipped around me, biting through my coat. I hadn't worn gloves, wasn't planning on stopping. People were helping kids down from the bus. Some were limping. Juan had a bloody nose. There were at least a dozen of them, teenagers mostly, a few younger. One man was yelling into a phone, probably 911. Another was trying to wave traffic past, though nobody was moving. The air smelled like diesel and cold metal. One of the bus's rear tires was off the pavement, spinning slowly in the air. I walked closer, just trying to see where I was needed. That's when I saw her, maybe 15, 16, halfway down the aisle, sitting on the floor between the seats. Heavy-set girl. Her legs looked pinned, like maybe something had shifted in the crash. She wasn't screaming, wasn't even crying. Just sitting there, trying to move, but clearly in pain. And 2 boys, one in a varsity jacket, were climbing past her, stepping over her like luggage. One of them muttered, "She's stuck. Leave her." I felt something burn in my chest. Real hot. Real fast. I don't remember walking. Just that suddenly I was inside that bus, ducking under the doorframe. The floor was slick with melting snow, maybe some blood. The smell of fear, sweat, and diesel was thick. I said loud enough for them to hear, "No one gets left behind. No one." And they froze. Just for a second. Long enough. I looked at the girl. She looked back at me with these wide, scared eyes. And I nodded, like to say, "I got you." I keep going back to that moment, not just because of what I saw, but because of what I heard. I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't wearing a badge. Wasn't holding a radio. I wasn't anybody official that day. Just a retired guy in an old pickup truck trying to beat the weather. That's all. I remember the sky was that pale gray, like it couldn't decide if it wanted to snow or just hang there, heavy and mean. The kind of sky that presses down on you like it's got weight. I wasn't in a rush, but I also wasn't planning to stop for anything. Roads were already slick, black ice kind of slick. You can't see it, but you feel it. In the steering wheel, in your gut. That little slip when you tap the brake and the truck doesn't answer right away. So yeah, I was alert, watching. Then traffic started slowing, red taillights up ahead. A few cars pulled to the side. One SUV spun slightly when it stopped, just a little fishtail, and the driver threw his hands up like, what now? I eased off the gas, foot gentle on the brake, came around the bend, and that's when I saw it. That yellow school bus. Tipped slightly. Nose forward, rear up toward the guardrail. Not flipped, thank God. But something was wrong. You could tell by the way people were acting. No uniforms, no sirens yet, just civilians. One guy in a delivery van had pulled in front of the bus, flashers on. Another lady, maybe a nurse, was crouched by a kid on the ground. It wasn't panic, not yet, but close. I pulled over, hit the hazard lights. My hands were already on the door before I really thought about it. Just instinct. 32 years of stepping into messes that didn't belong to me. That doesn't turn off with retirement. And then came the voice. Leave the fat girl behind. We need to get out. I swear to you, it was like time stopped. My heart slammed in my chest. My ears rang. Those words just hung there, like a punch that never landed, like something foul in the air. I didn't know who said it, didn't matter. I just knew. I had to see, had to do something. I got out. Cold hit me in the face like a slap. The wind had teeth. My boots crunched on the gravel and ice as I moved toward the bus. Nobody stopped me. Nobody even looked twice. The back door of the bus was open, the little folding kind. A kid, maybe 12, was climbing down with the help of a man I assumed was a passerby. The kid was limping, blood on one sock. I stepped inside. You ever step into a space that feels heavy? Not just physically, but emotionally? Like something awful just happened, or was still happening, and the air itself was thick with it. That was the bus. Floor slick with slush and spilled soda, smell of plastic, oil, fear. You know what fear smells like? It's real, like sweat and rubber and something sour. Kids were moving, some out the front, some toward the back. A few crying, but most were just shocked. Eyes wide, mouths tight, quiet in that scary way. And then I saw her, toward the middle, wedged between two rows of seats. Big girl, maybe 15, face red, hair stuck to her cheeks with sweat. One hand clutching her side, other hand trying to push herself up. And behind her, those two boys, stepping over her, like she was in the way, like she was furniture. That's when one of them said it again. She's stuck. Just go. And I lost it. I said, "Hey, stop right there." They froze. I took a breath, stepped closer. No one gets left behind, not today, not ever, understand? They looked at me like they didn't know what to do. One of them opened his mouth like he was going to argue, but then shut it. That was wise. I turned to her, dropped to a knee beside her. "You hurt?" I asked. She nodded. "My ankle. Maybe my knee too. I can't move right." "Okay," I said, real calm. "We'll get you out. You're not staying here." Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. She bit her lip, nodded again. I looked around. Seats were bent. One leg of the seat near her was twisted, pinning part of her leg. Not crushed, just jammed. But enough to hurt like hell if you tried to pull free. I told her, "What's your name?" She said, "Jenna." "All right, Jenna. I'm Carl. I'm retired, but I used to do this kind of thing for a living. You trust me?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, sir." "Good. I'm gonna lift that seat just enough to slide you out. It's gonna hurt, You ready? She bit her lip again. Okay. I braced my boots, got low, and lifted. God, it was heavier than I expected, not because of her, because of the seat. Twisted metal, jammed tight. I used my whole body, felt my back scream, but I got it up, just a few inches. Now, I said. She scooted, cried out once, just one sharp cry, but she made it. And when I let go, the seat thunked back down. I helped her sit up against another seat. She was breathing fast, eyes glassy, still holding her side. You're out, I said. You're safe. And she looked at me and said real quiet, they were just gonna leave me. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just said, not on my watch. When you've done this job long enough, you stop thinking in steps. You just move. Do what has to be done. Worry later. That's how it was that day. But I wasn't wearing turnout gear. No radio, no partner beside me. I was just Carl, 60-something. Retired, a bad back and an old pair of work boots. No one asked me to help. No one expected me to. But when I saw her stuck there, scared and quiet and left behind, there was no choice. Not really. After I helped Jenna scoot out from under that bent seat, I checked her leg. I've seen broken bones, twisted ankles, all kinds of trauma. Hers wasn't shattered, thank God, but it was swollen already, and the angle of her foot told me she wouldn't be walking out on her own, not without more pain than a teenager should have to feel. All right, I said, kneeling beside her. We're gonna get you out of here, together. She nodded, but she was scared. I could see it. She was trying to be brave, but it was all over her face, like a child trying not to cry in front of strangers. I looked around. Some of the other kids were already off the bus. A few were still trying to climb out. 2 adults, probably teachers, were outside shouting to keep everyone together. But no one came back for Jenna. Not one person turned around to check if she was okay. That did something to me. I can't lie. I've carried people out of burning buildings, pulled them from upside-down cars, held the hand of a man who knew he wasn't going to make it. But this quiet kind of abandonment, that was worse. And I don't think it was because they didn't care. I think it was easier for them not to. People panic. They save themselves. And sometimes they look right past the person who's hurting most, especially when that person looks a certain way. I looked Jenna in the eye and said, I'm gonna carry you, all right? It might hurt a little, but I'll be gentle. Her lip trembled. I'm too heavy. That hit me like a damn hammer. Not because she was wrong, but because someone, somewhere, had made her believe that her size made her less worthy of help, that it made her a burden. I leaned in close. Jenna, I don't care if you weigh 500 pounds. You deserve to get off this bus like everyone else. And I'm gonna carry you. Because you matter. Got it? She blinked hard. Got it. So I slid one arm under her legs, the other behind her back, lifted with my knees, like we're taught. My back let me know right away it wasn't happy about it. But I held her, firm, safe, and I walked, carefully, steady. Each step down that narrow aisle felt longer than it was. The floor was tilted, wet with slush. I had to keep balance, couldn't let her slip, couldn't let her feel unsafe. She gripped my jacket tight like a child, and I held her closer. The back door was still open. Cold wind blew in like a warning. My boots hit that last step and then the ground. My knees almost buckled, but I kept her upright. Outside, people turned and stared. One of the boys, the one with the varsity jacket, looked away fast, like he was ashamed. Good. The woman who was helping the other kids stepped toward me. Oh God, she said. She was still on there? Yeah, I said. She was. I didn't shout, didn't make a scene, just said it like a fact. They cleared a space near the shoulder where the snow wasn't too deep. I laid Jenna down gently, used my coat as a cushion for her head. Her breathing was shaky, but she was okay. I'm gonna stay right here with you, I said. She nodded, tears finally spilling over. Thank you. And I told her, you don't need to thank me. You didn't do anything wrong." And she said, real soft, "They didn't even look back." I had no answer for that, not a good one. So I just sat beside her, put my hand on her shoulder, let her cry. A few minutes later, sirens, finally, state troopers, paramedics, fire engine from the local station, young guys. I knew a couple of them, faces I'd trained back in the day. One of them, Jimmy Torres, looked surprised to see me. "Carl, you here?" I nodded. "Just passing by." She needed help. Jimmy looked at Jenna, then at me. "You carried her out?" "Yeah." He gave me a long look, said nothing, just patted my shoulder and turned to his crew. That meant something. Paramedics came and checked Jenna. I stepped back, let them do their work. My arms were shaking. Legs too. I hadn't carried someone like that in years. My back screamed, but I didn't care. What mattered was that she wasn't left behind. She wasn't forgotten. One of the medics, young woman maybe in her 20s, knelt beside me and said, "You probably saved her from hypothermia, or worse." I didn't say anything, because I wasn't thinking about danger or hypothermia or even heroism. I was thinking about those words. Leave the fat girl behind. And how damn close they came to becoming truth. There's a moment that sticks in my mind from that day. Not the sound of the sirens pulling up, not the cold, not even the pain in my back that lasted for a week after. It was Jenna's face. Right after the paramedics lifted her onto the stretcher and wrapped her in those foil blankets they used to keep people warm, I crouched down beside her one last time. I wanted to say something. Maybe goodbye. Maybe just let her know she wasn't alone anymore. She looked at me. Her cheeks were still red from crying, lips cracked from the cold. But her eyes, those damn eyes, were clearer than they had been inside that bus. Not panic anymore, not shame, something else. Like maybe she believed me now, that she mattered. She reached out, just a little. Her hand shook. I took it. And then she said something I'll never forget. She said, "Nobody's ever stood up for me like that." And I didn't know what to say. My throat got tight. I felt heat rise in my chest, not anger, not pity, just sadness, a deep kind. The kind that doesn't come from one thing, but from 100 little things piled up over time. All I could say was, well, they should have. She gave this little nod. Not big, not dramatic, just like she heard me. Like maybe it meant something. Then she said, "I thought I was going to die in there." And the way she said it, so plain, so honest, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I've heard people say things like that before in fires and crashes, but when it comes out of a kid, a teenage girl who's barely lived, that hits different. She didn't mean just the crash. She meant being abandoned, being invisible. That's what really scared her. Not the wreck, not the pain, the silence. The way they all just kept moving past her. And I got it. I understood that fear. Not because I've lived it like she has, but because I've seen it. Over and over again, in different faces, different places. People who get overlooked because of how they look, what they weigh, the color of their skin, the life they come from. People who stop expecting help because they've been told, again and again, they're not worth the trouble. And you know what? That's worse than pain, worse than fear. It's being made to believe that you don't deserve to be saved. That's what hit me hardest that day. I remember brushing her hair back from her forehead, like I used to do with my daughter when she was little. I don't even think I meant to, just happened. Old habit. She didn't flinch, just closed her eyes. That little moment, that's the one I carry with me. Because it reminded me why I ever did this job to begin with. It's not the fires, not the medals. It's not even about saving lives in the big dramatic sense. It's about showing up when no one else does. It's about looking someone in the eye, someone who's been ignored or pushed aside their whole life, and saying, "I see you. I'm here." She didn't need a hero that day. She needed a witness, someone to say, what happened to you was not okay. Someone to step in and do what should have been done in the first place. And I keep thinking, what if I hadn't taken that back road? What if I'd gone straight home? What if I'd just driven by like the others? That thought still haunts me, because I didn't just carry a girl off a bus. I carried something heavy out of that wreck, something I haven't put down since. Jenna changed me that day. She reminded me that kindness doesn't have to be loud, and cruelty doesn't always come with a raised voice. Sometimes it's just silence, looking the other way, stepping over someone without a second thought. She never asked for help. She didn't scream. She didn't demand anything. She shrunk, like she was trying to take up less space, like she was apologizing for being in the way. And that broke my heart. Because I know kids like her. I've seen them in my own town. Hell, I've raised kids in this world. And if my daughter had been left behind because of her size, I would have never forgiven the ones who walked away. So I stayed with Jenna until they loaded her into the ambulance. Before they closed the doors, she looked at me one more time. Her face was calmer now, not smiling, but at peace. And she said, "Thank you for seeing me." That was it. Not, "Thank you for saving me." Not, "Thank you for carrying me." Just, "Thank you for seeing me." And that's the part that still gets me. Still chokes me up when I think about it. Because in this world, being seen, really seen, is rare. And for some folks, it's everything. After they closed those ambulance doors, I just stood there for a while. Didn't feel the cold, didn't hear the traffic, didn't notice the ache in my arms or the stiffness creeping into my back. All I could think about was her voice. "Thank you for seeing me." You know, I've had a lot of people thank me over the years, families, strangers. Even the department gave me plaques, pins, handshakes. But none of it ever hit like that. Because it wasn't about the rescue, it wasn't about heroics. It was about something so simple, so basic, and yet so rare. She just wanted to be seen, not ignored, not treated like a problem, like weight, like something that needed to be worked around. That thought stayed with me long after the ice melted off that highway. I went home that day and sat in my truck for a long time before going inside. Engine off, hands still on the wheel. Just thinking. I was tired, yeah. My whole body ached. But what I felt most was heavy in a different way. I kept going over it all in my head. What she looked like, what she said, what those boys did. And more than that, what they didn't do. They didn't check on her, didn't even turn around. I couldn't stop seeing that moment over and over, her sitting on that floor, clutching her side, eyes full of fear and disbelief, and the rest of them just moving past her, like she wasn't even there. That haunted me, and I know. Teenagers are dumb sometimes, scared, they panic. I'm not trying to paint them as villains. But that kind of indifference, that doesn't come from nowhere. That gets taught. Somewhere along the line, they learned that it was okay to leave someone behind because of how she looked, because she was too much trouble. And that eats at me, even now. For a while after that day, I kept checking the local news, hoping maybe they'd say something, hoping maybe I'd see her name. Jenna, something about her getting home safe, or maybe her family coming forward. But there was nothing. Just a quick story about a bus crash on 81. No major injuries, all students accounted for, weather to blame. And that was it. Like it never happened. But I know what I saw. And I know it did happen. And maybe that's the worst part. How something like that can just disappear from the public eye, when for the person living it, it never goes away. I don't know what happened to her after that. Maybe she healed up, went back to school, kept her head down like always. Maybe she changed schools. Maybe she told her parents everything. Or maybe she didn't. Maybe she just carried it with her. That thought hurts. because I wanted her to know she mattered, not just for that one day, but for all the days after. I wanted her to believe she had value, even if the people around her didn't see it. I thought about trying to track her down, maybe send a letter, just to say I was thinking about her. But I didn't want to open old wounds, didn't want to intrude. Instead, I just kept her with me. Every time I see a kid at the store, standing off to the side, head down. Every time I hear someone crack a joke about someone's weight. Every time I catch myself judging someone by their appearance without even meaning to, I think of Jenna. I think of how close we came to losing her, not because of the accident, but because no one wanted to see her. And it changed me. Not in some big, dramatic way. I didn't go start a foundation or write a book. I didn't become a public speaker. But I started noticing more. Noticing the quiet ones, the invisible ones, the people who hang back in the corners, hoping not to be a burden. And I started speaking up more too. Not with speeches, just in small ways. I remember one day, maybe 6 months after the accident, I was at the grocery store. There was a teenage girl, maybe around Jenna's age, in line ahead of me. Overheard 2 other kids whispering behind me, giggling about her, something cruel. I felt that same fire rise up in my chest. So when she turned around to glance at me, probably expecting to see judgment, I smiled. Just a real simple, honest smile, like, "Hey, I see you. You're good." She smiled back. That was enough. You don't always have to make a speech. Sometimes people just need to know they aren't invisible. I still think about Jenna more than I probably should. Some nights I'll be watching TV and something will remind me of her. A line, a look, a scene. And I'll go quiet. My wife asked me once what happened that day. I told her, not the whole thing, but enough. She cried. Not because of the crash, but because of what Jenna said. Thank you for seeing me. I think my wife understood. She's seen that pain too. She used to work with kids, special education. She knows what it means to be overlooked, dismissed, left behind. I think the truth is we all know a Jenna. We've all been Jenna in some way. Left out, stepped over, not chosen. And maybe that's why it stuck with me. Because I saw myself in her. And I saw my daughter, and I saw all the people who just needed someone to care enough to stop. So what stayed with me after that day wasn't the bus or the rescue or even the pain in my body. It was the look in her eyes when she realized someone came back for her, and I hope, wherever she is, that she knows I'd do it again. 1,000 times over, because she mattered, and she always will. Sometimes I wonder why that day stuck with me so much. I mean, I've seen worse. I've seen death, seen fire take a child, held a man's hand while he bled out on the sidewalk. I've carried mothers who wouldn't let go of their babies, even when there was no more breath left in them. Those things, they sit heavy on your soul. They stay in your dreams. But this? A girl left behind on a bus? That shouldn't be the one that breaks you, right? But it did. And I think I finally understand why. It wasn't about the accident. It was about what it showed me. I always thought I understood people. Thought I had a handle on how cruel the world could be. You do this job long enough, you see people at their worst and at their best. I've seen strangers risk their lives for people they never met, and I've seen folks turn their backs when someone was drowning right in front of them. But that day, something cracked inside me. Something I didn't even know was still fragile. Because that girl, Jenna, she didn't just get physically stuck. She was emotionally left behind long before that crash ever happened. And it made me think, how many others are out there like her? How many people do we pass by every day and never really see? How many kids sit in the back of the room, stay quiet, try not to be noticed? Not because they're shy, but because life has already taught them they don't matter. And we let it happen. We do. We let it happen when we laugh at the joke instead of stopping it, when we choose comfort over compassion, when we don't speak up. I've been guilty of it too. I'll admit that. There were times I could have said something, done something, but didn't. Because it was awkward. Because I was tired. Because it was easier to look away. But not anymore. Jenna changed that for me. She reminded me that doing the right thing doesn't need a uniform, doesn't need a badge, it just needs a decision to see someone, to choose them, to say, you matter, right here, right now. It sounds simple, maybe too simple, but I've learned the small things are what people carry the longest. I keep thinking about how quiet she was. That still gets to me. She didn't beg, didn't scream, she wasn't dramatic. She just sat there, hurt and silent, hoping someone might come back for her. That silence said everything. It said, I'm used to this. And that broke me. Because no child should be used to being ignored. No one should expect to be forgotten. I wish I could tell her what she gave me that day. She thinks I saved her. But really, she saved me too. She woke something up in me that had gone soft. A part of me that had grown numb after all the years on the job. You build walls when you're a firefighter. You have to. Otherwise, the grief eats you alive. But those walls don't just keep the pain out. They keep everything out, even the good stuff. Jenna. She cracked a hole right through mine. I went home that night and sat with my wife, told her the whole story, cried in a way I hadn't done in years. Not the big kind of crying, not loud or messy, just quiet tears that wouldn't stop. Tears that come from a place you didn't know still hurt. And I thought about my daughter. Thought about if she had been the one on that bus. Would someone have helped her? Or would they have stepped over her too? That question still keeps me up sometimes. We live in a world that moves fast, too fast. We scroll past people like headlines. We pick who's worth our time based on looks, on ease, on what's convenient. And the ones who take a little more patience, a little more effort, we leave them behind. I don't want to be that kind of man. Not now. Not ever. So I've started doing small things. At the grocery store, at the diner. Just trying to be present, to slow down, to look people in the eye. Say hello, ask how they're doing, and mean it. It's not about being a savior. It's about being human. And maybe if enough of us start acting like that, the world shifts. Just a little. Just enough. Because the truth is, it doesn't take much to save someone. Sometimes all it takes is stopping, turning around, and saying, you're not alone. That's what I did for Jenna. But really, that's what she did for me. She gave me back something I didn't even realize I'd lost. And I hope wherever she is now, whether she remembers my name or not, she knows that for those few minutes on a cold winter road, she changed a man's heart. And that's no small thing. If you're still watching this, thank you. I didn't plan on telling this story, not like this. But maybe it needed to be told. Not for me. For her. For Jenna. And for anyone out there who's ever felt like her. If you've ever been passed over, talked down to, laughed at behind your back, if you've ever felt like you take up too much space or like people only see what they want to see, I want you to know something. You matter. You do. And I know those words get thrown around a lot. But I mean them. I've carried people out of wreckage. I've been there when the roof collapsed, when the air ran out, when the fire got too close. I've looked into the eyes of folks who thought they had no more time, and I've seen what desperation really looks like. But none of it felt quite like what I saw in Jenna's eyes that day. And the hardest part? She didn't need a firefighter. She didn't need a hero. She just needed one person to say, I see you. You deserve to be here. Think about that for a second. In all the noise of this world, with all the headlines, all the big issues, all the fighting and shouting and blaming, there are people right next to us, every day, who are silently drowning, and we don't even look. Because they're not loud. Because they're not easy to help. Because it's more comfortable to keep walking. But what if we didn't? What if we turned around? What if we looked that person in the eye? What if we chose them, right in the moment they expected to be ignored? That's what I'm asking you to do. Not for applause, not for credit. Just because you can. The next time you're in line and you see someone struggling with a cart, help them. The next time you hear someone getting laughed at, speak up. The next time you catch yourself making a snap judgment, stop. Check yourself. We all carry things people can't see. I carried gear for decades, but I'm telling you right now, the heaviest weight I ever felt was watching a young girl believe she didn't deserve to be saved. That's not a weight anyone should carry. So I'm asking you, let's be better than that. Let's teach our kids better. Let's be better. Because kindness isn't some big, magical thing. It's not reserved for saints or heroes. It's just a choice. A daily one. And it starts with seeing people. Really seeing them. And if you're someone who's been where Jenna was, if you've ever been made to feel small or left behind, I want you to hear me now. It wasn't your fault. It never was. You don't need to shrink to make others comfortable. You don't have to earn the right to be helped. You don't have to be less to be seen. You are worthy, exactly as you are. And if nobody ever told you that before, I'm telling you now. I see you. I wish I could go back and tell Jenna all the things I didn't say that day. Tell her how strong she was, how brave, how much her life mattered. But maybe this is my way of doing that. And maybe, just maybe, it reaches someone else who needs to hear it. So I'll leave you with this. Look around. Look closer. Notice the ones who hang back, who say less, who move a little slower. Sometimes they're carrying the heaviest loads. And sometimes, all it takes is one hand reaching out, one voice saying, "I'm here, you're not alone." That's what I did for her, and it changed me forever. So now I'm asking you, who's the person you can reach for? And are you willing to stop just long enough to see them?